The truth and its impact on our lives has never been more relevant than it has been over the past several months. As media outlets struggle to cover scandal after scandal, it is apparent that the truth and the concept of reality has never been so scrutinized as it has been under the recent 2016 U.S. presidential election, followed by the presidency of Donald Trump. Since taking office, Donald Trump has made it pretty clear to both politicians and the American people alike that facts and evidence-based arguments are not that important to him.
Trump cited a bizarre and completely uncorroborated report, and I use the term report loosely, in the National Enquirer, the supermarket tabloid. The National Enquirer, which has endorsed Trump and is published by a friend of Trump's, has been launching smear after smear against Cruz and his family. This story shows a photograph from August 1963 of a man standing with soon-to-be John F. Kennedy assassin Lee Harvey Oswald, handing out pro-Castro literature, and the story suggests that the man is Cruz's father, Rafael. Now, I cannot believe I need to say the following, but here goes. There is no corroborated evidence that Ted Cruz's father ever met Lee Harvey Oswald, or for that matter, any other presidential assassin. We in the media don't talk about it because there's no evidence of it. In fact, there is contrary evidence. Well before the picture was taken, Rafael Cruz's sister was brutally beaten by Castro forces, and Rafael Cruz had denounced the regime. So any suggestion that Cruz's father played a role in the Kennedy assassination is ridiculous and, frankly, shameful. Now, that's not an anti-Trump position or a pro-Cruz position. It's a pro-truth position.
This, tied together with the theme of post-truth, where people care more about how things make them feel rather than if they're actually true, have made it a battleground for the media and for the average person trying to grasp what is really going on in Washington. Trump's constant exaggeration of the truth has put the legitimacy of his administration and of the country itself in jeopardy, leaving many wondering how on earth it got this bad. He began lying and stretching the truth throughout his campaign for presidency, often lying about his successes, stances on key issues, as well as presenting made-up facts to support his made-up claims. He continued to carry this on as president, where he lied about the size of the crowd during his inauguration on his first day. This has continued on with his lying about the economy, the threat of Muslims to national security, the rate of illegal immigration, the logistics of his healthcare plan, murder rates, colluding with the Russians, and most recently whether or not President Obama wiretapped his phone. As all these scandals pile up, there are a couple of things people need to think about to fully understand what is going on. This being how he got to where he is now, where he gets his information, or lack thereof, why people continue to tolerate him, and what we can do about it. So how did we get to this point? How did Trump become president? To answer this, we have to start with his presidential campaign. According to PolitiFact, 69% of Trump's statements are somewhat false. This is of profound importance, considering he is in a position where he can drastically change the nation's policies and laws. And if his reality is made up, then the policies he will be imposing will be fighting made-up notions. But quite honestly, this is no surprise. Trump has an extensive history of lying about things such as his wealth, the popularity of his TV shows, and other small, irrelevant things that he would end up continuing at the White House. So you might be thinking, where does he get his information from? This is an important question that helps us understand where and how the information he receives affects the population. You might think that being the president would open up new channels of reliable information about current news and events, but despite that, Trump has admitted that he gets most of his information via extremely based and unreliable news sources such as Breitbart and Fox News.
Well, I don't know that I'm wrong, Bill. You know, this just came out from Breitbart. I mean, literally, it just came out. Trump vindicated, 100% vindicated.
Believe me, if there were thousands, that would have been reported. But
this
what I'm trying
article
to get
says
at
they were swarming. Bill, this article says they were swarming all over the place.
Right.
So I don't know what that means, but it means a lot of people.
His tweets and press conferences present headlines that are directly correlated with cable news headlines, that air sometimes minutes before he speaks of them. These outlines are notorious for presenting news stories that are immensely biased towards the right, oftentimes exaggerating or making up facts in order to appeal to their very polarized core voters.
You tweeted out that whites killed by blacks, these were statistics you picked up from somewhere, at a rate of 81%. And that's totally wrong. Whites killed by blacks is 15%. Yet you tweeted it was 81%. Now,
Bill, I didn't tweet. I retweeted somebody that was supposedly an expert,
but you don't
and it was also a radio show.
Why do you want to be in that zone?
Hey, Bill, am I going to check every statistic? I get millions and millions of people.
You got it. You're a presidential contender. You got to check
millions
it.
of people.
This ties in perfectly with how and why people are still able to believe him and his claims, and can be thought of as a feedback system that seems to justify non-factual information. To see how this works, let's look at a real example that was seen only a few weeks ago. Trump has been claiming recently that Obama had wiretapped his phone, which is highly illegal. Turns out these claims originated from Breitbart, a news source notorious for supporting alt-right views and conspiracy theories. When seeing this, Trump began tweeting about it, forcing other media outlets to pick up on the allegations and report on them, which allowed for other right-wing people to go on air and declare similar allegations without presenting any proof. For the right-wing voter who only watches these media outlets, these headlines and constant justifications seem to suggest that Obama did in fact tap his phone. Since these people get their news from the same place as Trump, to them, he seems like the first person to actually tell them things the way they seem to be, causing them to place more confidence and support towards him.
One of the things people love about you is they believe you tell it like it is.
Says it like it is. He speaks the truth.
It's about time we have a man like Trump in here. They ain't afraid to tell it like it is, man.
We like him. He tells it like it is.
He says what he means. I honestly believe he's telling the truth.
This forces members of his cabinet to continue supporting his lies, as seen with Sean Spicer, and has led to many of them having to step down because of their lack of factual information. These statements have a real-world effect that might not be so apparent to the average voter, such as billions of dollars being spent to combat issues that don't exist, that could have been used to make an actual difference elsewhere. Is there anything we can do? Well, to start, we as constituents can vote on candidates that are in touch with reality, and keep the media more accountable when presenting news stories. The media has such a big influence on what issues people deem important, and is vital to the way that the population perceives their reality. If this becomes subject to scrutiny, society as a whole becomes jeopardized. Since Trump has started a war against what he deems as fake news, it is more important now than ever that Trump and media outlets be held accountable, fact-checked, and punished if they continue lying. Unbiased news outlets are few and far between, and correcting this issue is vital in correcting the nonsense that we are seeing in the American political system now. Without this, there's no real hope that we can change the future and prevent candidates like this from taking power in the future. To end, here is a brief compilation of some of the lies that Donald Trump has been telling throughout his campaign and presidency, so that those of you who aren't informed or aware can see it for yourselves.
I don't know Putin.
Do you have a relationship with Vladimir Putin?
I do have a relationship.
I was in Moscow a couple of months ago. I own the Miss Universe pageant. And they treated me so great. Putin even sent me a present, beautiful present with a beautiful note. I spoke to all of his people.
I never met Putin. This is not my best friend. I was in Moscow recently, and I spoke indirectly and directly with President Putin, who could not have been nicer. And I got to know him very well because we were both on 60 Minutes.
This is a person who has been very cavalier, even casual, about the use of nuclear weapons. He's advocated more countries getting them, Japan, Korea, even Saudi Arabia.
North Korea has nukes. Japan has a problem with that. I mean, they have a big problem with it. Maybe they would, in fact, be better off if they defend themselves from North Korea. Maybe we would be better off, including with nukes. Yes, including with nukes.
And South Korea with nukes.
South Korea is right next door.
He was for the invasion of Iraq.
Wrong.
And you can actually hear the audio of him saying that.
Are you for invading Iraq?
Yeah, I guess so.
He applauds people who are pushing and pulling and punching at his rallies. That is not who America is.
So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees.
He also went after a disabled reporter, mocked and mimicked him on national television.
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said.
He insulted a former Miss Universe, Alicia Machado, called her an eating machine. And on the
She was like an eating machine.
She weighed 118 pounds or 117 pounds, and she went up to 160 or 70. So this is somebody that likes to eat.
Nobody has more respect for women than I do. Nobody.
So you treat women with respect?
I can't say that either. Ultimately, Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
Right, men? Is that right? If Hillary Clinton were a man, I don't think she'd get 5% of the vote.
He said that he could not possibly have done those things to those women because they were not attractive enough. Look at her. I don't think so.
Look at her words. You tell me what you think. I don't think so.
I did not say
them to be
that.
assaulted.
I did not say that.
And about another woman, he said, that wouldn't be my first choice.
She would not be my first choice, that I can tell you.
I didn't even apologize to my wife, who's sitting right here, because I didn't do anything.
He apologized to me, and I accept his apology, and we are moving on.